Hey guys, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. Today, this one's for the truckers and this one's for the welders. We're gonna do a truck repair, guys, on the frame. So if you're into that, stay tuned. And even if you're not, stay tuned anyway. See you right after this. All right, guys, I'm over here at this truck and the chassis of the truck was damaged. Okay, this is the piece that I cut off. It was damaged. It backed into a load or something like that and it got bent up. Sometimes that happens. If the load you're backing into is too low and this hits it, it can bend it and cause this kind of damage, okay? Well, it's pretty obvious that I cut the damaged piece off already, as you can tell right here. Cleaned it up. I'm getting ready to replace it with another strip of metal here, about a 1/4 inch thick. And I did the same for the other side as well. Cut that off because it had some damage as well on that side. So we're gonna get ready to replace that. And because this thing has to go to the DMV to get registered. Brand new truck here. Well, not brand new, it's used, but I'll take care of that. Now, before I went out and bought new metal to do the replacement, I looked around the shop for any scrap that I could use. Just so happened I found some with the exact same thickness and corner radius as the chassis frame on the truck. So a lot can be said for keeping a stockpile of metal scrap on hand. So I used a cutoff wheel and plasma cutter to cut out the shape I needed. Now, because of the thickness of the metal and the fact that I'm going to weld it to the frame, I'm going to use the grinder to put a bevel on the edges of the piece. That will give an angle to them and allow the weld to penetrate better. This is good practice anytime you're going to join or weld thicker pieces of metal together. I'm also going to bevel the cut edges of the truck frame as well. So when the two 45-degree beveled edges come together when I do the fit up, it'll produce a nice 90-degree V-groove that will allow for good weld penetration. Okay, as I did a rough manual fit up, everything looked good except for that gap on the short end of the piece up top. So I figured I'd cut it at an angle so it could have a closer fit. Okay, now that I got everything fitted up with these vice clamps that I think every fabricator should have, I'm gonna tack the ends, run a root pass with a 60-10 stick rod, and then layer it with a 70-18 1/8" stick rod. All right, so you may be wondering what happened up here. Well, when I did the adjustment and I cut the angled piece so it can fit snugly, I ended up cutting it a little bit too much, and I decided to leave the gap here instead of at the end, because I would have nothing to join at the other end. Here, it would be easier to join the two, even with this wide gap. So this will be a good example to show you that you can still weld a wide gap or hole with a little patience and timing. The goal is to concentrate on adding to or filling the edges of the gap, letting the metal cool and harden for a few seconds, then resume welding and repeat the process until the gap is closed. It also required some vertical welding, in which case I had to keep the puddle with me as I went up on the side there.